Hi, my name is Tim Nguyen, and for my vlog discussion number 4, Chapter 7 Paired Readings, I chose the essay Violent Media is Good for Kids by Gerard Jones. So the essay starts with a personal anecdote from the author about growing up in a progressive family. In this household, the emotion of rage was considered a negative trait that one was supposed to overcome, aka peace over conflict ideology. As a result, our author was a quiet, withdrawn kid, very unsocial because his peers were usually engaged in activities that his household deemed too crude for him to participate in. Basically, his parents separated the elements of American pop culture they deemed crude or brutal, but that changed when the author got his hands on some Marvel comic books, and the author found a character that he really resonated with, which was the Incredible Hulk. The Hulk had underdeveloped social skills and was misunderstood and oppressed by society for his strength, and that struck a chord with the young author, and because he now had a fictional proxy for himself to relate to and to live through in the fictional world. He felt that he had an identity when he was imagining himself in the Hulk's shoes. He felt that he was a person that was unfettered by the chains of societal expectations, acting with complete self-confidence. It led him to finding the resolve and courage to find other like-minded people and befriending them. And later on, it also helped him to find the self-confidence to become a writer. And a similar story happens with his son, who imagines himself to be a ravenous dinosaur in order to find the courage to get through to thrive in preschool. And when he was in first grade, his son was afraid of climbing a tree with his classmates. But when the author read stories about Tarzan living in the jungle, his son began to live in these stories. And then after he stopped imagining himself in Tarzan's shoes, he already had the courage to climb the tree with his friends. So the author notes that in the wake of a recent increase in school shootings and other mass shootings recently, he notes that pop psychologists are pushing the narrative that junk culture, such as violent media, is hurting children, causing them to be more violent. And the author argues that even the worst facets of pop culture can have its own developmental benefits. In the example of violent media, it gives kids the opportunity to master their rage. Everyone feels rage, and rage can be an empowering emotion, which is basically like a shot of courage that lets you resist threats, or take control. But it is the emotion that our culture villainizes the most. But through identification with imaginary violence, children can become more able to use rage to overcome obstacles in life. The author acknowledges the opposing argument by ceding that violent media is not completely harmless. He agrees that perhaps it does make some people commit real life acts of violence, but he says that it helps it helps way more people learn to use rage for the better in their own lives. Fear and he concludes by saying that fear and distrust of rage in our culture causes children to grow up passive, unconfident, and easily manipulated. In my experience, I grew up in a religious household that vehemently despised violent media, and my parents did their best to keep me away from it. However, I continued to consume it intentionally and unintentionally. My mother often tried to get me to watch biblical movies, which contained real life enacted acts of violence. For example, nailing Jesus to the cross, beheading of John the Baptist, etc. In addition, most of the games that were popular with my peers involved violence, and I would end up playing violent games behind my parents' back with them. But even though I've been consuming a lot of violent media, I don't think I'm a very violent person. And the way I've consumed violent media has taught me how destructive indulging in too much rage can be. But I know that rage can be the emotion that gives me the courage and willpower to get things done in life, such as stressing to complete an assignment in time before it's due. Thank you.